Hello, my name is Mitch, and I draw Blood Force, and today we're wrapping up what I think of as the big four for the Image launch titles back in 1992. So previously we've taken a look at Youngblood number 1, Savage Dragon number 1, and kind of Spawn number 1. And today we're going to Wildcats. So, of course, Jim Lee was probably the biggest artist. Maybe not. I think of Jim Lee as the biggest artist in the world at this time. Probably Todd McFarlane is, though. I mean, you look at the numbers Spawn had, and Spawn continued to maintain after its launch. It was selling in the millions for a little while, and it was usually in the top 10, well past when the original Wildcats run was over. So I guess he was kind of the main guy. But Jim Lee was the guy I was most interested in. His Uncanny X-Men number 275 was one of the first comics I picked up, and that was one of the first ones that really blew me away with the artwork. I had a copy of X-Men number 1 back in the day. I think everybody did. I have one today with a different one, but you know. And I was super stoked for this. Saw the Wizard issue number 12, where we got little teasers of it, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be so good. And get some stuff created completely by Jim Lee. He gets to do whatever he wants, and this is it. And it's a little disappointing, really. I don't know. X-Men number 1 is like a full realization of what Jim Lee wanted a comic to be in 1991, I think it was, where it's mostly splash pages or what they call anchor images, where you get a cool shot on pretty much every page so that you can sell that page for $5,000. And it seems very planned out and the kind of thing that's supposed to sell 8 million copies. This one, a little less focused. And if we're going to start, I think we should probably start with the cover, which, in my opinion, kind of sucks. A little bit. It's a little subpar for Jim Lee. I mean, like, I'm not saying I can do better, obviously. That's fucking stupid. But this is not... no, this isn't how Jim Lee should be introducing anything. I'm going to try and sub in an image here. And this is an early Wildcats promo image that I saw, and I'm guessing it must be Wildcats because I looked through some comics. I can't find it in any of those. This is a much better cover image. The one we got going here is kind of, I don't know, it feels low effort. It's static. It's not as, I guess it's as colorful, but it's far less focused. With this kind of image, you would expect there to be some sort of directional devices pointing to something. There really kind of isn't. You got Maul just kind of shoved in the background back there. The inking's kind of loose. And yeah, it feels kind of directionless. Whereas on this other one here, this feels much more like a cover. You know, again, it's dynamic. You get the directional devices with all the speed lines everywhere. Still pretty colorful. And it's just much more eye-catching. I think the only thing against it, I don't know if this is cropping or if this is how the actual image is arranged. There's no room for a logo in there. So that, I assume that's not the reason why. I'm wondering if somebody got the wrong, if the wrong image got sent off to the printer. Because this one should not have been the cover, in my opinion. This feels kind of dashed off. So let's open it up here. And one of the first things I noticed looking back on it is this is a comic by a guy who was used to working with Chris Claremont. So he's going to plot everything around half the page being taken up with word bubbles. whether or not the word bubbles are relevant. I suppose that's a little bit like Claremont too. But so, and this is not the top coloring that Image was able to come up with at the time. Spawn was. I'd say Savage Dragon was actually very. It may not have been as impressive, but it was very appropriate. This is, you know, it's like high-end Marvel DC. And we're starting kind of in media res, and that we don't know a whole lot about what's going on. That's kind of this whole issue, to be honest, is trying to introduce mysteries and trying to like hook you with, oh, you want to know what's happening here, don't you? Don't you? I don't know if it actually gets you interested by the end of it. And if it does, I think you had to wait like 3 months for issue 2 anyway. Yeah, so it turns out none of this even happened. I think this is alternate reality stuff, which is not interesting, particularly when they come back to it, I think, in issue 2. And this is not how things turned out, because it's supposed to be teleporting the Wildcats team. I thought that was pretty cool when I was reading it when I was a kid. And we get what feels like classic early 90s stuff. Guy wakes up in an alley and gets jumped by muggers, by the capital Mug. And he defends himself, or the cavalry arrives. And yeah, man, early 90s was obsessed with muggers. And yeah, cavalry arrives. It's the shiny lady we saw earlier, which is Void. And nothing will ever be the same again. And oh, wah, wah, it's exactly the same. Oh, that is a fun thing. The captions for when things happen. This happened in the past. This happened in the future. Even though you get the impression that they're linked events. The past is 1980. The future is August 9th, 1992. The present is August 8th, 1990. And then today is August 8th, 1992. So this one lied. Anyway. So yeah, we're in today, but not the present, when Jacob Marlowe wakes up. And things are exactly the same. Oh no, they're not. He's rich now. That's cool. And we learn Jim Lee can't draw. A dwarf. This guy looks like he'd be, just kind of crutching himself around everywhere. And now we finally get some money shots. This is Void Dreams, so none of this really matters. Again, this is portents. This is, giving you breadcrumbs that you're supposed to care about. And now we're going to introduce the team. How far into it are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10 pages before we get to the team. I suppose that's allowed. Weak intros, though. That's Warblade. And that's Maul. This is okay for Spartan. But, no. That's kind of shitty. We'll get back to this. Yeah, it's weird. This is a bit of Youngblood #1 syndrome. It feels kind of rushed. And I can't figure out why. They are trying to pack an awful lot into this. It's not story. There's a lot of dialogue, though. A lot of exposition. So I guess we don't get a cool shot of you know, Maul punching Warblade through a wall. We just get little tiny shots. It's better than Bedrock sitting at a kitchen table eating slop, I guess. Not a whole lot, though. And now we're going to introduce our villains. And this we need to spend a bit of time on. So the villains, I'm going to preface this by saying I didn't come up with this myself. This is largely spawned from discussions I've had with my brother. Some of these opinions are things he's brought up. So these villains have their HQ in what's supposed to be a sub. Sure. And it's this Dr. Evil type table. And you get all these crazy characters. You get crazy supervillain guy. You get dude with an eye patch and a monocle. And a monocle. I guess that's kind of rough if you have an eye patch and you need glasses or something. Are there any... Yeah, we get floaty prophet lady, prophet girl. And then we get Alberto, who's, I don't know, some mid-level capo. And he's eating spaghetti that I assume Hellspawn served at his Dr. Evil underwater submarine evil meeting. And Al is going to get killed by spaghetti. I don't know how. Maybe he just crushes his face. You feel like he was trying to drown him in the spaghetti. That's not really how spaghetti works. And I guess the reason for this is Jim Lee likes the Untouchables. Because this is stupid. This is how you introduce your goddamn villain, sure. And we get it thrown in there that he paid Judas to betray Jesus, sure. Yeah, at least we get a money shot of Hellspawn. But that was really dumb. Oh boy. And then we're going to cut. And that was just 2 pages. Come on, Jim. This is lame and you know it. This is a bit more up to snuff. That's not a card. That's a warm-up. So now we're going to cut to something with Marlowe and this character. I think this is setting up the end of the confrontation for this little mini-series. I read recently that, I don't know if I knew this previously. I feel like I maybe did, but when they decided to start out Image Comics, they decided to do everything as miniseries first, just to kind of test the waters, which kind of holds up with how the original scripts go. So you get the first run of Shadowhawk, you get Wildcats 1-4, Youngblood 1-4, Brigade 1-4, Savage Dragon 1-3, Cyberforce 1-4. Like it all kind of checks out. Spawn not so much. Maybe 1-7? I don't know. Then he starts in with his hiring writers. I can't remember why I brought that up. Oh, right, because this links in. So that's the end of this arc. Yeah, and then they just continued it on from there after those. This is kind of jammed in there and kind of pointless. That's okay, I guess. Then we get to the stuff that Jim kind of wants to draw, which is Grifter going to a strip joint. Well, not really a strip joint. I guess it's more just a place where girls dance. Strip joint. And then we get, this is the reason why he's here. He's checking out, he's been tipped off about voodoo. And that's a costume. Some decisions were made. Again, big money shot. And turns out that right when Grifter got there was right when Damonites got there to kidnap Voodoo. So that was some good timing. Another thing that's pointed out, Grifter's a weird name for a dude. Because it just means he's kind of shady. Like he's a scam artist. I'm not sure if Jim Lee knew what that meant. I feel like he must have. Jim Lee seems like a very smart guy. So maybe he just thought the name was cool enough to sort of overshadow the fact that it doesn't have anything to do with the character. Or I don't know. Maybe they brought it back in later on in the series. So that does have something to do with it. I was not reading Wildcats after issue, I don't even know, 12, I think, 13. Which was like 3 years later. But here we get our fight between Grifter and Damonites, right? Yeah. But they turn into dudes in suits. I wonder if that ever comes back. I don't remember ever seeing it come back. Now, again, not in those first 11 or 12 issues. Do you think they just kind of turn into the Damonites and, like, you know, turn into big old monster dudes and wreck shop? And, yep, and kind of finish up that fight a little bit. And then we get a proper introduction of the team, but we've already kind of, I don't know, had a lukewarm introduction. I feel like that previous introduction was unnecessary. And then, yep, some stuff with introducing Zealot. And yeah, there's a money shot for you. And she's all sexy violence. Because it's 1992. And bad girls are just around the corner. And yeah, we get our big teaser for next issue. That a Damonite has taken over Dan Quayle. I believe it was, right? Yeah. I had no idea who this was in 1992. I don't know how many 11, 12, 13-year-olds did. Maybe in the States it was a bigger thing. I mean, it looks more like Wayne Gretzky than anybody else to me. But yeah, no, this is, I don't know about the way this issue is set up. I feel like this should have been the beginning of the issue. Where you start off with Grifter in the strip club. And you're bringing up the Coda. You bring up the Damonites. They get jumped. And then you get a little bit of a shootout. It's much more exciting than Emp fending dudes off in an alley. And then the Wildcats show up. I wonder if it's that you don't really have... I don't know. I mean, you could stretch this out and still have this as the final page. Or pretty close to. And it wouldn't feel as jammed in. Maybe that's the problem. We don't have enough words on the page if we do it that way. Like, all of this is unnecessary. That way we don't introduce Hellspawn. I guess. But you could jam that in after the fact. This is completely unnecessary. All we need to know is that there's a super team. This stuff, unnecessary. Save it for issue 2. This stuff, he's a rich dwarf. That's all that matters. I guess it's important that he doesn't know who he is. This stuff doesn't mean anything. This never happened. This you can explain with a line of dialogue. It's very strange. And again, I wonder how much of this is Brandon Choi. I previously said I don't remember Brandon Choi writing a lot of Wildcats. I looked it up later. I was quite wrong, actually. He wrote issues 0 through 9, I think. And somewhere from the mid-20s till, I think, issue 50. Or maybe the mid-30s. He wrote a fair bit. I didn't read any of those other ones. The later ones. I read 0 to 9. There isn't a whole lot that happens from the end of the miniseries until 9. And 9 is when he brings 10, I guess, is when he brings Chris Claremont in to kind of draw some interest back to the series with a little 3-issue stint that doesn't really accomplish a whole lot. And then he just hands it back over to Brandon Choi, who, I don't know, kind of scripts it into the dirt. A little strange. And Wetworks is coming in November to a store near you. Yeah, sure it is, buddy. Let me see when Wetworks #1 came out. So this is supposed to be November 1992, I suppose. I see the Wetworks series in totality being from 1994 to 1998. So I don't think they made. Yeah, no, they didn't make the deadline by a long shot. And that was kind of Image in a nutshell. Yeah, this is for how much I loved Jim Lee at the time. Like, there's some great stuff in here. Some. Not for a little while, there isn't. That's a cool shot. Not much there. That's a cool shot. That's a cool shot. I feel like I probably copied this for trying to figure out how to draw women. Yeah, cool shot. This is the only place there's, I don't know, yeah, a lot of filler before we get to anything really interesting. And there's a lot of exposition, but not a ton actually happens, and a lot of it seems like fluff. And this was supposed to be the thing where Jim Lee and company are starting a brand new venture. They're trying to get you interested in this bunch of nobodies. You haven't heard of Spartan or Zealot or Warblade or whoever at this point. Who are these people? And after this, I don't think you particularly care. Particularly when the next issue. How long did that take? So particularly when, well, the next issue came out was September 1992. So this was August, I believe. Yeah. For some reason I thought it was July. So that was able to keep the schedule. Number 3 was December. So we missed October and November. And I remember there being a big gap in between 3 and 4. Yeah, March. So between September and, between issues 2 and 4, like 6 months passed by. You're trying to maintain interest in a bunch of nobodies. That's not a great look. So that's kind of it for Wildcats #1. I got some fondness for Wildcats, to be honest. Thinking back, though, I mean, I wonder how much I'm thinking just about the hype leading up to Wildcats #1 being released, because it doesn't really live up to it. I was pretty stoked to see the new Jim Lee comic. And you get this, and it's just like, yeah, okay, sure. And there was a lot of that in the early Image stuff. I think the only ones that really delivered were probably Spawn and Savage Dragon. And even Spawn, you didn't get a lot of story. You just got some cool Todd artwork. But then that's all you were there for, right? So next time, I guess we're going to take a look at Cyberforce #1. That seems like the next most obvious one to hit. The spoilers right now, we won't be hitting Shadowhawk #1 at any point. I don't have it, and I'm not spending money on it. I'm sorry. But if you like this video, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notifications, hit all the things. There's buttons everywhere. Follow me on Twitter assuming Twitter's still running. I'm sure it is. Go to my Patreon, check out my shit. There's finished pages in there, sketchbook stuff, these videos. You're on this page, you know about the videos, but there's other stuff you didn't know about. Why don't you go look at the stuff? And I'll see you next time. Bye.